Look at that. I'm not a chef, not a cook, I don't pretend to be. I'm an average guy. Every once in a blue, you have to cook for yourself, right? Okay, so today's average guy meal is a staple of the American household, the classic pork chop. It's something I like to cook, it's easy to do, and I'm gonna show you those steps. The first thing you need are the pork chops. And for that, I went to my friends over at Whole Foods. I went to their butcher shop, and I got 2 thick center cut chops, the bone-in variety. So the first thing I do, I put some seasoning on the pork chops. There's a company that I'm very familiar with called Anthony's. They have this pretty good all-purpose seasoning. I smack this on to pretty much any meat, steak, pork chops. It takes a normal dish and it just brings it alive. So we're gonna be using this. A little bit of olive oil for grilling or for sauteing. There we go. Now, I also have been known to use some garlic salt and some black pepper. First step, let's prepare the meat. Alrighty. And these are nice, really thick pork chops here. So you want to pull your pork chops out. And I always like to keep my hands nice and clean in every step of this, especially when you're dealing with pork. Now before I start putting the spices, the seasonings on, I usually preheat my oven to about 350 degrees. This is going to be a 2-step cooking process. We're going to fry this or sear this in a pan first, and then we're going to put it into the oven for the final touches. Alright, so let's get going with seasoning. I have my oil, put some oil on the pork chops, and then I'm going to take my good old Anthony's seasoning, and we'll sprinkle it generously on the pork, both pieces. And keep putting that seasoning on. It's good stuff. Again, this brings alive your meat, the flavor of the meat. And I like to put it on the side as well and just get it everywhere and get it ready to go. So now we have our pork. Looks pretty good. Alright, so now that we have the pork chops seasoned and ready to go, the first step in the cooking process is to fry these puppies up to get a nice sear on them. I'm going to be doing it in this cast iron pan from a company called Lodge. I don't know if you can see that logo, but they're a Tennessee-based company. They've been doing this, making these cast iron products for many moons, and I find they work well because I can fry this puppy on the stove and then transfer it into the oven. This particular model has a griddle pattern, so it gives the meat a nice seared look to it. So the first thing we'll do is we'll put a little olive oil on this pan. But what I like to do is take a little bit of olive oil, put it into a paper towel, and just glaze it over or brush it over. You just want a nice coating of it, and we'll put this on high heat, and we'll get this surface nice and hot. So I want to sear on both sides of the meat for about 2 minutes, because these pork chops are pretty thick. They're probably about 2.5 inches, about 2.5 inches thick. So I want to sear on both sides for 2 minutes. And then I'll pop them into the oven for about 16 minutes and I'll flip that once. Alright, so the pan itself is very hot now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the chops. I'll put the chops right on the pan. Put the timer on. I'm actually going to do 3 minutes on each side because they are pretty substantially thick, these pork chops. So we'll cook these guys up for 3 minutes, and then we'll flip them. Listen to that meat cook, huh? Look at that. So usually now, with these 3 minutes, I have about 6 minutes. Like I said, I'm going to sear them on both sides for 3 minutes. I'd start to prepare the side dish. Now, one of my staples is sauteed spinach. It's very easy to make. It takes probably about 10 minutes, just a little bit under. So I'd start getting the ingredients ready. I'd start prepping all that stuff. Today I won't be doing a side, but I'm going to throw up the sauteed spinach video as soon as I can do that. So we've got just under a minute until we flip this. We'll flip it over, sear it again on the other side for 3 more minutes, and then we'll put it into the oven. Okay, so I'm ready to flip these suckers. Look at that, huh? A nice sear to it. Gives it that grilled look, like you got this right off the grill. Right about now you start to get a whiff of the smell of the seasoning. The pork is starting to cook up. You got some smoke coming off. So now I've got about a minute left, and then we're going to take this and we're going to put it right into the oven. Now I put this on the top rack. I have a small oven. I only have 2 racks. I put it the furthest away from the heat, and I think I'm going to put this in for about 16 minutes in total. 16 to 20 minutes. I'm going to turn the pork chops at the halfway point, and then I'm going to eat. Now I'll take this. So after 8 minutes or so, I'm going to take these out. Make sure you wear a mitt. Now the chops are nice and golden. Flip them over and back into the oven for another 8 to 10 minutes. Now there's an important thing about pork. You want to make sure you cook it till you get the pink out of the flesh. You need to cook it solidly through. So what I'm going to do, these are thick chops. So I've kind of guesstimated about 16 to 20 minutes in the oven. Once they're done, or once I think they're done, I'll pull them out. I'll cut down the center of the chop, and I'll just make sure there's no pink coloring, that we've cooked the pork through and through. Now, what you don't want to do is overcook the pork, right? Because it takes the flavor out, it dries it out. So I'd rather guess wrong early and put it back in than to burn it up and dry it out. So as we're waiting for the chops to come out, I want to remind you of washing your hands, washing plates and utensils that have been exposed to the raw pork. Like I'm reusing the plate that I used to prep the food, but I've just cleaned it in hot soapy water so it's ready to go. Minimize the cleanup. It's just a good rule of thumb. Keep those fingers, pots, pans, utensils clean. I'll be eating good in about 5 minutes. Okay, so we are ready to pull it out. And as I said earlier, I'm going to take a peek at this right in the middle. And I'm going to make sure, cut it off the bone. So it's nice and juicy, but there's still a little bit of a tinge of pink left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this back in for another 3 minutes or so. There was still a little bit of a pink tinge at the heart of the meat. So I decided to be safe, better safe than sorry. I popped it in the oven for another 3 to 5 minutes, and then we'll be ready to eat. And that's your finished product. So there you have it, a nice pork chop meal from an average guy in about 30 minutes. Thanks for watching. I think I'm going to eat this pork chop right now. Let's see if the proof is in the pudding. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Feel free to comment, subscribe. Look at that. This is something that I think many of you can do. It's quick and easy, but I'm sure that a lot of you are looking at this and some of you have some suggestions. Maybe I did some things that are a little Let me know. Give me your suggestions, give me your recipes. Let's communicate. I hope you comment frequently. I hope you subscribe and send this video to everybody that eats, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and watch my car reviews. See you next time.